Okay, we now move further to proportions. So, in this part, we are going to talk about proportions. In part 1, we have spoken about ratios. So, let's call this as part 2, and we'll be discussing about proportion, the types, and the various properties of proportions. Okay, but don't forget, before we proceed, do subscribe to our channel Knowledge Platter if you are enjoying our videos. Okay, now what exactly is a proportion? Now that we've already studied ratio expresses how many times one value is of the other. So now what exactly is a proportion? So suppose I take two ratios, say A upon B and C upon D. Okay, now if I equate them, that is, if I just put an equal sign here, what results is a proportion. So basically, what is a proportion? Proportion is nothing but equality of ratios. So when you equate the ratios, the resulting is a proportion. Now in this case, A by B equals C by D is a proportion. Now A, B, C and D, they are called as proportionals. So first proportional, second proportional, third proportional and the fourth proportional, out of which A and D, that is the first one and the fourth one, A and D are called as extremes. So please remember, A and D are called the extremes, and B and C, these two, right, the second and the third, they are called the means. So if A upon B equal to C upon D, then we say A, B, C, D are in proportion. Okay, of which A, B, C, D together they are called proportionals. A and D are called extremes, and B and C, they are called as the means. Okay, let's go to one more type of proportion. Say A upon B equal to B upon C. Now what is the difference between these two? If you observe A upon B, then again B repeats, so it's B upon C, right? So the consequent of the first is the antecedent of the next. So such a type of proportion is called as a continued proportion. So here we get a continued proportion. Now, so whenever you have A upon B equals B upon C, likewise you can extend C upon D, then D upon E and so on. What we get is a continued proportion. So there is a continuation here, A, B, then B, C, further down it would be C upon D and so on. Okay, now in this case, A and C, they become the extremes, whereas B is called as the mean. Now in this case, B is also called the geometric mean. Now if you cross multiply, what do you observe? If I cross multiply, I get B squared is equal to A into C. So that is why B is also called the geometric mean. So basically, equality of ratios is called a proportion. Now the terms are called as proportionals. And whenever you have a repetition in this form, A by B, B by C and so on, it's called a continued proportion. So remember these two, proportion and a continued proportion. Okay, we now move further with the properties, the various properties of proportion. Okay, now we continue with properties of proportion. Now suppose I take a proportion A upon B equal to C upon D. Say this is my given proportion, A upon B equal to C upon D. Then the first property is called as invertendo. Now here what we do is we just take the reciprocals on both sides. So you have B upon A equal to D upon C. So this one is called as invertendo. So when A by B equal to C by D, and if we take the reciprocals on both sides, what we get is invertendo. So B by A equal to D by C is invertendo. Next is alternando. Now here what we do is we just interchange the position of the mean values. Now we know B and C are the mean values. So if I just interchange the position, that is A upon C equal to B upon D. Extremes remain as it is. You just interchange the mean positions. So we get what? Alternando. Next is componendo. Now here what we do is, the property is it's numerator plus denominator upon denominator on both the sides. So here we have A plus B upon B on the left hand side and C plus D upon D on the right hand side. So it's numerator plus denominator upon denominator on both the sides. Next comes dividendo. Now here we had added in componendo, so here we'll subtract. So the property is numerator minus denominator upon denominator again on both the sides. So A minus B upon B equal to C minus D upon D. So that gives you dividendo. And the next one is a combination of both componendo and dividendo. Hence we also call it as componendo dividendo. So next is componendo dividendo. Now the property here is it's numerator plus denominator upon numerator minus denominator. So you have A plus B upon A minus B equals C plus D upon C minus D, again on both sides. Please don't mess up one thing. These are properties of proportion, that is you have to apply them on both sides. Many children, what you people do is you apply them on ratios. You cannot apply these properties on ratios. They are two-sided properties, so you have to apply them on both the sides. So we have invertendo. Next is alternando, exchanging what? The mean positions. Next is componendo, numerator plus denominator upon denominator. Next is dividendo, numerator minus denominator upon denominator. And lastly you have componendo dividendo, that is numerator plus denominator upon numerator minus denominator on both the sides. Okay, we now proceed with the sixth one. Now suppose we have a proportion A upon B equal to C upon D. Now if I add the numerators here, that is A plus C, and if I add the denominator, that is B plus D, this entire proportion, the ratio value will be equal to these two ratio values. Now this property is called as addendo. Please remember, adding the numerators and then adding the corresponding denominators. So that is called as addendo. Similarly, if you subtract the antecedent, that is A minus C, and if you subtract the consequent, that is B minus D, again all three would be equal. So this property is called as subtrahendo. So remember, when you add, simply add the numerator and denominators, it is addendo. When you subtract, it's subtrahendo. Okay, now a very interesting thing here. If A upon B equal to C upon D equal to E upon F. Okay, if I multiply say A and B by non-zero constant L, say L times A, L times B. Okay, we cancel L, still it is A by B only, right? Then C and D if I multiply by M, again non-zero value, right? So M times C, M times D. And E and F if I multiply by N, say N times E and N times F. Now if I wish to add the first two terms and then subtract the third one, so what would I get? LA plus MC minus N times E, and here it would be LB plus MD minus N times F. Now here we have used addendo also, subtrahendo, multiplying by non-zero constants. So all this have come, all these things have come together. So this we call it as the theorem on equal ratios. So please remember this. So this is called as theorem on equal ratios. Now I could have also done this way. LA minus MC plus NE. Now if I change this, accordingly I have to change the denominator. So become LB minus MD plus NF. So you just have to remember one thing. Whatever operations you do in the numerator, the same sequence has to be repeated in the denominator. So that you should not change. So if you are subtracting and then adding, here also it should be subtraction and then addition. So this is called as theorem on equal ratios. So in ratio and proportion we have covered the entire theory of ratios and proportion, the properties, the types and a lot more. So now it's your job to practice more and more problems and use these properties there. Please practice. As I always say, practice makes a human being perfect, not a man or a woman, a human being perfect. Okay, hope you enjoyed watching this video. We'll be back with more such videos where we will be explaining the concepts basically of different chapters. So that is our main motive, to explain the concepts. Okay, so before I sign off, if you've not subscribed to our channel, please do that and help us grow faster. Thank you.